Welcome to Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Shipp, and I'm excited to be sharing with you my life with a son on the spectrum. This podcast is for anyone who is looking for quick tips and perspective, but most of all, for hope and inspiration. So sit back, relax, and let's put the pieces together. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Shipp. Thank you so much for joining us today. Last week, we had the great pleasure of speaking with Miss Ashley Dollar on the show. If you did not get a chance to check out that episode, please do. We had some wonderful conversation about her being a mom with 2 autistic children, as well as her new school that she just started called Dare to Be Academy. I was so grateful for the conversation, and thanks again, Ashley, for being on the show. I am just so unbelievably grateful for you. This week, I am especially excited to have Miss Gabs Hayes on the show today. Gabs is a business coach and mentor specializing in helping entrepreneurial parents achieve sustainable success. A mother of 3, Gabs brings her unique perspective and practical strategies to support parents in building the lives they envision without compromising their family values. Please welcome Gabs to the show today. Thank you for being here. I know. I'm so excited that we finally got to connect and have you here on the show. When we first spoke, we had such a wonderful conversation, and I felt so drawn to you for all of your hard work and everything that you've done, and I wanted our listeners to hear your story. So I want to just kind of jump in right away with you for our listeners today and just share your journey about, being a mom, navigating with a child who has special needs.
Yeah, so I have a 5-year-old that has chronic asthma, and I think that's so hard, and I know that most of us parents that have children with special needs go through that, especially the more invisible ones of like, yes. Oh, it's just asthma.
Yeah.
Like, well, she's been in the ICU 9 times in less than 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
So,
yeah.
It's one of those things that has completely turned our life upside down. And I think something that we don't talk about enough, and I know you and I dove into in our first conversation, is it's not just caring for them, but it's the whole family.
Right.
Every time she ends up in the hospital, it throws everything upside down.
Yes.
We've had to move just strictly because of her care needs and how sick she was. And so our other kids are just being looped in and having to navigate this as well. And they didn't sign up for it, just like nobody, none of the rest of us did. So it's definitely just a juggling act. Mm-hmm. And in many ways, I feel like I never know when the ball's going to drop. And that can be really hard to stay grounded and stay stable in life when you're like just waiting for the bottom to fall out at any given moment.
Constantly in fight or flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said that you moved. So you moved from, was it Georgia? Is that correct?
Georgia's home. That's where we're born and raised. But we were actually in Oklahoma at that point when she started getting really, really sick. And, we had beautiful care, beautiful friends, help, all along the way. But there was one pediatric pulmonologist in Tulsa.
Okay.
And so when, the next available appointment is 9 months out, eventually you have to make a decision where she's not getting the care she needs because there just isn't access.
Wow.
So we moved here because it was a recommendation from her pulmonologist there of both weather, climate, but also that she would have more access to care. And we have found that to be true, so we're very thankful for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, picking up and moving just for doctors is not an easy choice.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, that's a really big decision. And like you said, you have 2 other kids to think about. And are they older or younger?
Older.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So she's
the baby.
The baby. Okay, yeah.
We're turning our lives upside down for the baby.
It's always the baby. It's always the baby. No, I'm just kidding. But so how is she? Is she thriving and doing better here, or how has it been? Because I know we talked about this, but you had some trials and tribulations even getting to Arizona and being here.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting. You and I are recording this because we booked this a while ago.
Yeah.
She was just in the hospital over the 4th of July. And it was the first time in over a year. So it definitely was like, okay, I'm trying not to panic. I'm trying to manage. But you definitely get to a point where like, I've done everything. Yeah. I have moved. I have changed providers. We've changed her diet. We've taken her out of school. We've done all of the things that we could do to try and control her environment. And yet still she ends up back in the hospital. But in general, she is much healthier here. She's much more well controlled here from a asthmatic perspective.
Yeah.
And so for that, I'm forever grateful. And I've gotten connected to really incredible community people like you. And so, you know, I think that was a beautiful byproduct of making that choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's admirable what your family has done, to not stop delving into resources, like you said, we've done everything, and you still probably continue to look for resources. And I think that that's really admirable that you haven't given up that journey, that quest, that fight. You know what I mean? I feel that way sometimes even about Drayson. He has made so many milestones, and I'm so grateful for all of them. But now I just kind of feel like, okay, well, there needs to be another level up, or what else can I do? What else can I explore? And so do you find that during those quote unquote calmer moments that you're able to kind of also rest and relax, but then also still continue to find things that maybe your daughter might need?
Yeah, I think now, but it's been a journey. We've been battling this for going on almost 4 years. And in the beginning, I think to my own fault, I was waiting for her to just get better.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
So it was like, okay, this time we're not going back to the hospital because we changed the medicine and it's going to work. Or this time it's going to work because we changed her diet, or we took chemicals out of the house, or whatever. And so I think in that sense, I was constantly looking for something.
Yeah.
Now I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I know I've done 80% that I can. And like, I just can't be a parent that's always on with her and always trying to find the next solution, because the reality is this is here with her to stay.
Right.
And so some of it is just, how are we going to live knowing this is our reality? So like right now, we're not spending a lot of time outside. And of course, a 5-year-old home during the summer, that's just like driving all of us stir crazy. But it is a control, it's a method to control, some of her reactivity that we have. So it's just some of that trade-off that you have to make.
Right.
But on the flip side, I mean, now that we've gotten her in a pretty good, healthy state on a regular basis, sometimes I forget. Yeah. And that's the other part, is like, oh gosh, your inhaler, or you needed your medicine. Right. Or, it's like, I have to remind myself, if she looks okay, she's behaving okay, and I'll ask her, how are your lungs doing today? And she'll tell you, double thumbs up. Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, we don't have to stress today.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's hard too, because as moms, we're constantly the on switch is always on. Like it never shuts off. At least that's how I feel. And so when that happens, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's like I almost feel like I get a little, not guilty, but like, oh, the on switch wasn't on. Like, how did I, but I'm sure, it does become exhausting. It's tiring. So I think you keeping your mindset strong too has probably been a really strong or a really big component of keeping you to keep moving forward,
Yeah, I think in a very beautiful way, she's forced me to learn to prioritize myself. One, that's just her personality. She's like, this is my world and I'm going to live in it. So if you want to borrow some confidence, that's the kid to borrow it from.
She's like, you can come talk to me.
Yeah. But the reality is I wouldn't be able to navigate being her mom if I was in that same reactive state that I was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, because I was an extremely reactive person.
Yeah.
And it took being in a situation where I needed to be able to like flip a switch and be on and get stuff done.
Yes.
And then like realize it's okay when she just wants to cuddle on the couch. Like that may literally be what she needs today to take care of herself. And it's okay for me to lean into that too.
Right.
And whatever's waiting will keep waiting, and it'll be there when I get off the couch.
It's not going anywhere. Yeah. It'll be there when you get back. I always say that too. I'm like, it'll be there when we get back. Don't worry. Like we can cross it off the list later.
Yeah.
But I think it's amazing that you see that as the priority and not, the other things, like those can hold. Because I think we do get caught up in the daily grind of things too, just trying to keep the household running, our careers running, all of those things running. So I think it's great that you can recognize that and take the pause, because I definitely do that more now, but I wasn't that person 5 or 6 years ago. It was like I was just train wrecking all the way through everything. At least that's how I felt. Yeah. But, so what has been, you have such a positive attitude despite everything you've been through. And I know you've had some other personal, you had a son, is that right? And so you also had to deal with the loss of a son.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. 7 years ago, my son passed away. And so he was between my girls. So he would have been my second youngest, or is my second youngest. And I think a lot of people's natural reaction is to say, I'm sorry. And I'm thankful for that. But also I tell people I'm not. It was the trajectory that set me on this. I need to deal with my stuff. I need to figure out, how am I actually going to make it through this life? Not coast, not survive, not grind and hustle my way through. But he was our very vivid reminder that tomorrow isn't promised to any of us.
Yeah.
And also for me, it was like following the rules. Because at that point in time, I was in corporate. I was chasing the next promotion. I was following all the rules. I was doing everything we were told to do. And that didn't save his life. And so it was just a big wake up call for all of us as a family of like, we now get to live for him. We get to do and experience the things that he's never going to get to experience. Yeah. And then, of course, her being born as the kind of rainbow baby afterward that came with all of these chronic health problems. Right. I think just as a natural byproduct, we've had to slow down. We've had to be more present. And I tell people all the time, the amount of presence that I have in my life now and the amount of the ability to just feel calm, even when the world feels like it's falling apart around me. Yeah. You couldn't put a price tag on it. I'd probably pay over $5 million for it if I had it. But so I'm just really thankful that maybe I was put on this earth to go through some of these things that others wouldn't have seen in the same way, but I've been able to use it to turn around and build relationships with other parents who need support and figuring out, how do I find that calm and that presence in my life? How do I decide what's important? And I've just been, thankful that I'm vulnerable enough to use my voice to tell that story.
Yeah. And I think that, and I've said this to people before too, I would not be able to handle some of the things that I've endured without some of the experiences that I've had in my life as well. And I think when you go down some really traumatic experiences, sometimes you come out of it and go, you have two choices. You can either fall victim to it, or how can I grow and learn from this? And I think that it's beautiful that you saw, the beauty behind something that was really, really tragic for your family, but also what the blessings were. And I mean, that's such a wonderful, beautiful thing,
Yeah, something I like to tell people is the end is already decided for us.
Oh,
the outcome, you know what I mean? Like, we're rushing through life every day going, what can we control? Yeah. I don't want this thing to happen, so I'm going to do this thing, right? Everything is a reactionary decision. Yeah. But in the reality, when you really take a 10,000 foot view, the outcome's decided. Right. We will all have a date at the end of our hyphen when our time here is done. But we have so much power in what lives in that hyphen. Yes. What memories we put in there. What we create. Who we build relationships with, our experiences, what we learn, our knowledge, all of that. And I think now more than ever, we have access to literally whatever you want. Yeah. And sometimes that can be to our own detriment too.
Yeah, I know. I was like, it's supposed to be a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing, but it's good and bad.
Yeah. And I think it takes a lot of that self-awareness, right? Yeah. To know when have I crossed that line where it's become bad. But that's the thing, I tell my kids all the time, if you want to live in a camper van by the river and you only need $20,000 a year to survive, go do that if that's what makes you happy. Right. One of my girls will tell you, I'm going to be a fashion designer in New York City. And I'm like, go do it, girl. But you're going to have to learn how to make great money in order to have a good life there. Yeah. And so it's I love that even our kids are getting this exposure to things that for us growing up, if you didn't see it in high school or have someone in your family who experienced it, that was it. Yeah. Your viewpoint was very narrow and very limited, but now the world's literally our oyster and we can experience it in so many ways.
I think that's such a beautiful point of view. I love that you brought that to the table today, really. I know you really are passionate about helping moms and parents with kind of the balance between, life's challenges and career and all of these things. So for our listeners today, can you tell them a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that the thing to be most proud of that came as a byproduct of the work is a community of parents who are also looking at changing their legacy through a business, whether that's on the side or full time or learning what entrepreneurship may be for them, bringing all of us together. And we're an international community now. We have people all over the world.
So
and it's just a place to like drop the mask, to just say, this is heavy. This is hard. We have an SOS channel where you can drop like, I just need feedback now and I don't care who it comes from or how.
Yeah.
And so like last night someone dropped, he's like, oh my gosh, I signed a new client, but they're asking for this different kind of contract and I don't have that. Does anyone have support? And like, I woke up this morning, there were like 15 messages. Here's what I put, and I just think, in our lives all together, how many times are we sitting at home or in the car or in the shower, whatever it may be, spiraling? I have to make a decision. I have to make a choice. I don't know what the right one is. So you just keep playing the options over and over in your head.
Yeah.
And so I think the greatest thing that I've done in my work is create this safe space where you don't have to spiral anymore.
Right.
I tell people all the time, let me be your safe space to fall.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's going to be fail too.
Right.
But fail's not a bad word. It's not a 4-letter word that we need to avoid. It just means we learn something on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And so really that's the piece is we don't all have it together. None of us do. And none of us have all the answers. But as a collective group, I bet you we have the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's tap into
Somebody's
that.
got it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I love that you tied it into the entrepreneurial aspect because years ago, I created a separate company because I needed the flexibility because of Drayson's schedule and what I needed to do for him and provide that care. So I knew something entrepreneurial would be one of the best options for me at that time because not every employer. I mean, I've worked for a lot of people, and not every employer is flexible about your situation. And so I think that part of the reason why I created a company years ago for that, and I'm really blessed because I do have a beautiful job now, and my employer is so understanding, and I'm really lucky. That's rare to find, and I tell her all the time she's a unicorn because it is really really hard to find that in workplaces. So I love that you're tying in this entrepreneurial aspect of saying, yes, it's okay if you're spiraling about X, Y, and Z, but like, I need help with my business now, and I don't know what to do because I've got all this other stuff happening all at the same time. And to be transparent about it. I think sometimes we mask that because we think that we have to, or professionally, obviously, we don't want to be showing all of our cards to our clients.
Yeah.
Hi, hire me. I'm a train wreck.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to come through and be like, I really do know what I'm doing, but I love that you give that because it's an outlet for because it is hard to decompress after that. You're trying to keep your game face on, you're trying to manage your family, you're trying to find resources for your kid and do all these things, but you have no outlet for people to identify with that as well. So you said that now this community is international.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
International. Yeah, it's been beautiful, and I think again that's the power of us looking at technology and the internet and what we can use it for. Is that I think there's probably 10, 15, 20 countries. If I posted I was going to land there, I'd have friends to go connect with, and my kids would have friends to go connect with, and it just makes me really excited because when I think about my legacy, it's exposure, it's experience, it's being willing to do things scared. I didn't see anyone growing up do stuff that was scary. I think we had hard circumstances, right? And we navigated those, but getting out there and trying something new that you've never seen done before. And while I'm with you, I'm back in a role at this point in my phase. I was really proud because my kids watched me for 5 years build businesses at home from the ground up. And, I wrote them a letter when I was choosing to go back to work. I had a really beautiful opportunity that I didn't feel like I could pass up. Yeah. And I wrote them a letter, and part of that letter was an apology because they had to endure certain things for me choosing to become an entrepreneur. And you know what they said? They said, we're so proud of you. There's nothing to be apologetic about. Yeah. But of course, naturally you look at what went wrong. What would you do different? How would you change it? Yeah. But that's the power of building these relationships, even inside your own home and together, is that being vulnerable inside our home allows our kids to do that too. You know, I'm the first mom to tell my kids, I am tapped out. I am maxed out.
I have no more to
like,
give.
It's 7 p.m. I'm going to my room. I may not be asleep, but I'm only available for emergencies. And of course, I'm very grateful, right? I have older kids and we're getting in that phase of life where I can like give them some space. But yeah, I'm like, now though, they turn around and do it to their siblings.
Yes.
I've loved playing for a couple hours, but like now I need my own space. And like they learned that because we modeled that behavior.
Yes.
And that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and I identify 100% with what, because I have plenty of days like that too, where my husband's like, where are you going? I'm like, to my room.
Yep.
You know, I want to go to my room and I want to stay there.
Put me in timeout. Someone said to me the other day.
Like I'm going into my forced timeout and I'm just going to stay here. If you need something, if the house is on fire or like I need, like if there's an emergency, like let me know. But other than that, like I just need to go kind of collect myself. And I've noticed that I've taken a lot more of those quiet moments for myself recently because it does kind of help to center me. And in the beginning, I always felt a little guilty for doing that. Like, oh, well, if the boys need something or if, you know, or I've got to finish this part of this project or I've got to do all these things. And so I would feel guilt doing that. Now I am not guilty at all. I just want you to know I don't feel any guilt about it. And I'm telling all of the parents out there listening, do not feel guilty for taking any moments for yourself. Your sanity, listen, you're no good to anybody else, right? And I always say, like, my sanity is worth its weight in gold. Because otherwise everything else is going to go to hell in a handbasket.
That's right.
So, you know, I do appreciate that I've kind of learned that life lesson along the way because I was that nose to the grind, hit the ground running. You know, and I still am. I feel like I have a really strong work ethic, but I also can say I can't do this right now, like, and be okay with that. There's nothing wrong with being transparent about that. And I think it's beautiful that you give people permission. You're basically encouraging people to give themselves permission to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny that you use the word permission. I struggle with that a lot.
I know.
Because I'm like, we're all grown adults. We don't need permission from anyone, right? But that is the word that a lot of people in my community use, is you have given me permission to do X or Y. And so I'm just learning to lean into it. But I think it's because I had to learn it the hard way. But now this is my chance to give back, is to show other people that, like, you can, like, for me, I can hustle with the best of them.
Yeah.
But I can rest with the best of them too. And actually what I found, right, was when I had quality rest, and this is something I really love to dive into with people, laying on the couch or in bed early, but you're the whole time spiraling, I should be doing the dishes, I should be taking the kids to do this. That is not rest.
Yeah. No,
you are physically sitting somewhere, but you are not resting. And then no wonder you're like, well, rest doesn't work. Well, because you're not giving yourself a chance.
Stopped. Yeah.
So, you know, I like to tell people, make sure it's guilt-free rest and start with 5 minutes. Start with 10 minutes. I do quarterly mini sabbaticals where I go away for a weekend, but I had to work up to that.
I've done that too. Yeah.
But what happens is when I come on the back end of whatever my rest period is, I am so present with the kids because my mind is clear.
Yeah.
And when it's time for me to hustle, I have the energy and the capacity to do it. Yeah. Where, like, I'm not burning myself out. I'm not running myself into the ground. And I tell people all the time, I know it sounds really wild, but I have a lot of free time with 3 kids. And people are like, how do you have free time? Because it's intentional.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, like we were talking about the giving permission thing. I don't think sometimes, or at least for me personally, I have forgotten that a long time ago, you know, because you jump into raising kids and having a family and all that stuff. I forgot that I had a choice. You know, and I think that when I realized that I could choose to give myself permission to really take that time out and go binge watch on Netflix or something, check out and watch a show that maybe I would enjoy watching and just really check out for a little bit, that was very, very powerful for me. Like, because I think sometimes, not that we forget, but we get so siloed in everything that we're doing, we don't realize that we've really we can make a conscious choice to do this. Yeah. You know, and I've said the same thing, you know, I'm like, nope, I just need to check out, because I always feel that I will come back in to the game, so to speak, better than when I left to take the break, you know. I come back recharged, refreshed, feeling like, okay, I can do this. If I have to hit the ground running, I can. And in my earlier years, that was not a thing for me ever. And I think that it did physically. I mean, I went through a lot of health problems. It physically made me sick.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends that work in the burnout prevention space. And I had one of them come talk to the community in January. And she was there for them. I was just, listening in as a participant. And I always thought, oh, I'm on my way to burnout. I had this mentality that burnout as a parent, and I think that's a very poignant combination to make, that burnout as a parent meant I literally fell out on the ground, could not keep going. I was waiting for that day. Eventually I'm just going to collapse over, and then I'm going to go to the hospital maybe for a couple of days. That'll be my time out.
Maybe the kids will find me.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll help. Maybe, yeah.
But I mean, I had this envision, right? Of a literal fallout.
Yeah.
And so she's talking and she's teaching micro tips and all of this stuff. And she says, if you rest, get good, genuine sleep at night, not restful or not restless, but genuine sleep, and you still wake up feeling in a fog, the world is heavy, you don't want to get out of bed. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, it was as the words were coming out of her mouth, my eyes were like, whoa.
That's me every day.
I was like, I've been burnt out for 7 years. I was waiting for the fallout to happen. It already happened.
You're like, I've been burnt out I'm going on a decade now of burnout. This is amazing. I love this for me. Oh my God. Yeah, it's interesting when you get those aha moments, those light bulb moments, and then you're like, oh, it's been trying to tell me, the universe has been trying to tell me this the whole time, So did that really put you into a place of being very, very deliberate about taking those breaks then?
Yeah. So I decided in January after that happened, it was very early in the year, my mission this year was to be present where my feet are. And awesome. Every day that I find myself spiraling about something, I literally will say to myself, are you present where your feet are? And if the answer is no, let that crap go. It will come back. And as a matter of fact, last night I was writing in my journal because I have a decision I made that a few weeks later, it still
wasn't sitting well.
Yeah. It doesn't feel bad, but it doesn't feel yes, I made that choice. Yeah. And I keep spiraling of okay, should I have done this? Should I have done that? Should I change it this way? And so I literally just wrote out my journal. I was like, listen, this decision is still taking up too much space in my brain.
Yeah.
I just need a sign from the universe of what am I supposed to do with this? And me and my daughter, you have these manifestation oracle cards. And so we were playing with them last night and I pulled a card and the card literally said, release. And I was like, yeah, because I'm not doing what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I made the decision.
Yeah.
That moment is gone. What happens after this? I can't control the outcome.
Yeah.
It may be for a short time, long time, whatever. I need to be present where my feet are. And the reality is where I am today, I'm doing really well with where I'm at. And I should be proud of that. And I don't need to stress about what could or may happen in the future because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's such a beautiful outlook, really. I mean, what a great question to ask yourself too, because, I can think of many moments in my life where that has not been the case, at all. But, for parents that feel we're talking about the struggle. So, and, parents that feel like they have to choose between being a good parent or building a career is a big struggle for a lot of us. How do you help them to see that it's possible to do both?
Yeah. So I will always say self-awareness is the greatest gift you'll ever give yourself.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I was able to figure out how to do this because for such a long time, and I'm very career-oriented, very work-driven.
Yeah.
I felt like two literal different human beings.
Yeah.
I felt like the mom.
Yep.
And I felt like the career woman.
Yep.
And my husband and I have frankly had this conversation, and we've even talked to the kids about it. Where I was when I was feeling like two completely different people, I likely would not have chosen to have kids again had I known I had a choice. I started having children in a very just unintentional manner, right? And so I didn't know I had a choice. And what I found was being self-aware about that feeling allowed me to figure out, where do I marry the two? And for me, and this is something that I just encourage people to do, is, do you actually handle the juggle of the two together really well? Most people that I start working with, the answer is no, but they have believed that they do. So like, I remember I'd take a meeting, go make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then try and get work done, and then go get the orange for the snack, right? And then I was always feeling just wound up, and that was why I hated the two together.
Right.
And I just figured out I have to be really strict with my boundaries.
Right.
When I am working, I am working.
Right.
And when I am mom, I am mom. And those two do not cross paths anymore. And of course, there's times where they have to. But in general, that is what I have found has worked for me, is being really intentional with those boundaries around what makes me the best person of me or version of me, so I can be the best mom and I can be the best in my career.
And putting that structure into place for yourself, I'm sure, was, amazing once you started to really kind of like, okay, I have to put this has to look different. Yeah. Because I've said that all the time. Like, there's times where I'm like, I can't work at home because there's just too much going on. And I will leave and go work someplace else because I can't, I'm sorry, like, I can't do this right now. I have to be able to get this done. And so to get, again, the choice, giving myself permission to do so without feeling guilty by any of it, has been something that I've had to work really, really hard on. But then when I come back, then it is, they have my full attention. And I always tell them that I will give you my undivided attention when I walk back in the door. Yep. And I try very, very hard, and like you said, sometimes they intermix, it happens, but it was a hard push for me to get like that, Yeah. So, where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about you and your resources and tap in with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way is my website, gabshayes.com. That'll always have the most up-to-date information. And then I also have a podcast called Overwhelmed and Over It. Yes. And that is for parents who are just in the thick of it and they need a reminder they're not alone.
Yes. Yes, that's probably, I should probably listen to your podcast. Okay, great. And for our listeners too, just so you know, I will post all of Gab's information in the show notes, so that you can also, if you need to click on her links or get in touch with her, I'll make sure that all that information is available to you. Gabs, thank you so much for being on the show today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your courage, your conviction, everything that you're doing, all the hard work that you're putting in for as a business owner, as a mom, as all of the above. Like, I have so much admiration for you. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yes, back at you, friend. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Thank you. This concludes our episode for today. If you have questions, comments, or even a show topic that you would like to hear about, please feel free to send me an email at info@piecesformypuzzle.com. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you haven't done so already, or feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like what you're hearing, please spread the word so that we can continue to empower autism families, and feel free to give us a good rating on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, keep working on your puzzle, and remember, you don't have to have it all solved in a day. Take care.